Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking out this video. Really do appreciate it. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We have to talk a little bit about my friend and yours, or your friend and mine. That's how it goes, right? Yeah. Geno Auriemma. I think the man might be feeling the heat from his Caitlin Clark comments at the beginning of the WNBA season, and the fact that UConn is not what UConn used to be, and I'm not sure it ever will be again. Geno is not having a good time right now. UConn loses to Tennessee for the first time since freaking flip phones were a thing. And instead of taking it on the chin, he decides to do something he's kind of been doing a little bit now. More and more this season goes on, and that's just flat out throwing his best player under the bus. The one he convinced to come back to UConn by shaming her for not having won a championship. I really think someone needs to check on Paige Bueckers, because I think she just got blindsided on a fast break by her own damn coach. This is a man who's been on top for decades, suddenly dealing with very unfamiliar territory, losses, criticism, frustration. And post-game, after that Tennessee loss, instead of the usual, we're going to learn from this, and we grow from losses like this, and we learn from mistakes that we made, and it makes us better, Geno says, no, we should have won. This isn't me. Our best players just didn't play like our best players. Forget, hey, I as a coach need to put them in the best possible position in order to give them the best chance of being successful, and so on and so forth. No. Geno couldn't do that because Geno is a petulant little child who can't handle losing. And he directly calls out Paige Bueckers for multiple things. We are going to take a listen to this, and we will talk about it.
Bottom line is, we have some players on our team that are supposed to be our best players, and they got to play better. That's all there is to it.
Paige has had trouble getting going, it seems like, in a few of these bigger games now. I mean, just what do you feel like is kind of the block with her in terms of being able to start as hot as she has in Big East play?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a real kind of conundrum, Paige wants the ball in her hands all the time. Then when they trap her, she don't want the ball in her hands. So then we try to get her moving from, one thing to another, moving without the ball. And, it's so-so. So we've got to come to some sort of definitive thing here, how we're going to handle it. But right now it's not the winning edge for sure. And passing up stuff, like, I don't get it. Bottom line is,
Wow. So much to say there. Yeah, look, Paige had an off night shooting. I think that stands out the most because she's always been a very efficient scorer. She shoots a high percentage. She was only 5 of 16. But look, let's be real. 14 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds isn't a horrible stat for Paige Bueckers. It's really not. She's a little down in the points, but like I said, she had an off shooting night. But they all have off shooting nights. All great shooters have bad shooting nights. Caitlin Clark has bad shooting nights. A'ja Wilson has rough shooting nights. It happens. But Geno's comments to me just hit a little different. He's shifting the blame. He's placing blame on players that is really his fault, to say, oh, she wants the ball, but then when she's trapped, she doesn't. Well, if you're playing correctly, you probably do get rid of the ball if you're going to get trapped, and you do so in an effective manner that helps your team, and your coach puts your players in a position to beat the trap. But then he had to follow up, well, then we try and get her off ball, and that doesn't work either, as in not, hey, I got to do a better job of creating offensive sets and movement off the ball in order to get Paige into positions that make her successful when she does catch it. But no, it's just, she's not doing that right. And then that last little bit at the end, too, I'm going to see if I can find real quick, because he kind of stopped. He answered the question and he kind of stopped. And then it was almost like he couldn't contain himself and sort of forgot that he's talking in public to the press almost, and gave you his true feelings about passing up shots.
But right now it's not the winning edge for sure.
All right, I got it. So this is the part here. It kind of pauses, and then it shifts. It's almost like he thinks he's talking to just a friend and letting out his frustration of how, it's not my fault because of this.
And passing up stuff, like, I don't get it. Bottom line.
Of course you don't get it. It's because you don't understand who Paige Bueckers is, because you were so blinded by this narcissistic, arrogant UConn is everything narrative, and you went on and trashing Caitlin Clark, and everyone, because they don't like Caitlin Clark, they want to make Paige Bueckers generational. Paige Bueckers is not generational. Paige Bueckers is not a player that takes over big games offensively with her scoring. Paige Bueckers is a very good basketball player. So understand, a lot of people now say, why do you have to put down Paige when you're praising Caitlin? Not putting down Paige at all. In fact, I think all this is very unfair to Paige because of what's being put on her shoulders. They're trying to make her something that she isn't because they don't like Caitlin Clark. Quick reminder for those of you that forgot. Yeah, that was a long pause. Sorry about that. I swallowed. The audio did not cut out. Geno is the man who went on the rant calling Caitlin Clark fans stupid, calling Caitlin Clark fans delusional, saying Caitlin Clark fans were insulting the WNBA players because there was no way Caitlin Clark was going to go into the WNBA and tear up the league. We all know that that's exactly what Caitlin Clark did. We saw reality, and it was Caitlin Clark shattering records, shattering single-game assists record, leading the league in assists, and setting a record for a single season in assists as well. And if you recall, Geno said, that's something Paige is better at. She's a better distributor of the ball. Caitlin Clark doesn't have the physicality for the WNBA. She doesn't have the quickness for the WNBA. Paige Bueckers is a better distributor of the ball than Caitlin Clark. And now that reality is here, and we're all seeing that Paige isn't necessarily what they want her to be, although Paige is a very good player. Let's make no mistake. But they put too much of their hatred of Caitlin Clark onto Paige, and it's not working out the way they want, and they are very upset. And I feel like Geno's deflecting. Instead of admitting that he misread Caitlin Clark's impact, he's shifting his frustration to his own team for his lack of success. This is a man that has historically defended Paige. As I said, he defended her in that rant about Caitlin Clark's fans. And let's be fair, it was also a rant about Caitlin Clark because he said she's not built for the WNBA. She's not quick enough, despite the fact that she destroys players one-on-one off the dribble. So he also went after Caitlin in that. Let's make no mistake about that. And I think part of this is he's very frustrated that Caitlin Clark has proved him wrong. This is the guy who did not want Caitlin Clark. His own program is no longer dominating like it used to. Look, I'm not saying Geno has a Caitlin Clark problem, but if you listen closely, you can probably hear him grumbling every time she breaks another record. Instead of worrying about Caitlin Clark and her fans, maybe it's time to focus on getting UConn back on track without throwing childish tantrums, without throwing your own players under the bus. Because right now, Paige Bueckers needs a coach, not a petulant child throwing himself down in the middle of the food store and crying and screaming because he didn't get the candy that he wanted. Look, here's the thing. I'm not saying Geno's a bad coach, but Geno won a lot of championships because Geno was able to recruit all the best players, and it was a small pool of players. Now the women's game has grown. It's grown a lot. You're seeing good players, great players playing elsewhere because there is more talent to spread around. And as that talent goes around, it becomes very difficult for one team to stay on top. And it's starting to look like Geno was a much better recruiter of talent than developer of talent. Great recruiter, not necessarily a great coach, and he's been exposed for that fact, and I think that is weighing on him a lot, along with the Caitlin Clark, Paige Bueckers drama created by people like Geno. Not Paige, not Caitlin, not Caitlin's fans. And I'll leave you with this, just to get an idea of where Geno's at with his head. This is, I don't want to have the volume too loud because I think this thing was higher than the other. This is right after the game when he's asked about the game that they just occurred with the loss to Tennessee.
Put them on the free throw line or allow second chance points. How do you address that?
I'm sorry, and this is at I think this is at halftime.
With your team in the locker room.
How do I address it? How do I address it? You don't address it. This is what you get when you come down here. The game was called one way and then it changed. Nope, nothing else changed. We didn't change. Nothing else changed.
So there you go, a little bit, folks. It's never Geno's fault. It's never Geno's fault. He was shocked by the question. He had no answer as to how he's going to address it with his players, so he just got pissy and said, "You don't address it." I think you might want to address it, Geno. Oh, too late. You already lost. But anyway, I just thought this was kind of wild. I got an opportunity to take another shot at Geno, which I enjoy because I'm just never going to forget that rant of his. But let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comments below about Geno, what you think about him. Is it time? Are we finished here? Is Geno at the end of the run? Should he maybe retire and kick back instead of continuing to do this? The man is 97 years old. Okay, so he's been at this for a long time. He's not really 97. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for your support. Really do appreciate it. If you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe. I got to make up for all those people that got really pissy that I was actually critical about the Sydney Colson signing, and I had more unsubs on that one video than I've had on any of the other 500 or so videos on the channel, which was kind of wild. But so if you haven't clicked subscribe, go ahead and do that. Help me out a bit, and I will talk to you later.